But I want to come back to what is the meaning of life. That essentially, one of the things that's stripped, when you strip away frivolous activities or unnecessary activities, and you're left with just the necessities. I saw it in the show Alone. I see it in myself as I'm sitting by myself in my own house. There's a certain clarity that comes about what's important to you, and really about the internal impetus to unfold more of yourself. And by that I mean to not protect yourself, to not be about avoiding suffering, but about clarifying your soul, your spiritual nature, clarifying that by working on your personality. And essentially bringing the personality into alignment with the divine so that the divine could shine through it. It's almost like our personalities are like curtains over the window of our being, and the light of the divine wants to shine through, but our personalities can be such that we close those curtains. And so as we purify our personality, as we clarify our personality, one, as we talked about last week, by acceptance. This other way is now about loving. So loving is one way to see with the eyes of God. If we want to shine the light of the divine, if we want to experience the light of the divine shining through us too, then we need to pull the curtain back. And we need to shine that love onto others. So if you hold a grudge or you're angry with someone else, you begin to close the curtain. If you judge, down it goes. Light does not come through the mind that is judging. And it doesn't come through the heart that is closed. And in essence, when we open our minds and our hearts, which will make us feel vulnerable, when we open our minds and our hearts to the world and to ourselves, then the light of God can shine through us. And the shining through us, we feel it, and everyone is blessed. That as we sit in this sense of acceptance for the world and love for the world, then we begin to extend our consciousness out so that the boundary of our self begins to weaken enough that consciousness can now penetrate out, and the awareness of the divine can penetrate in, of all that is, of the spiritual nature of things. All of this becomes more accessible to us when we dropped our defenses and become more accepting. And it's often in those difficult times that we do that. And if we take this time of difficulty or inconvenience and we feel into our vulnerability, then we, I think, set ourselves up to love and to accept and to perceive with more clarity what is out there. What is not out there in the sense of the material world, what is out there? What is the nature of the reality, and how we are just physical expressions of a much greater self. And our job apparently in this world is to work on our personalities such that we allow the divine to shine through us. If you have been forced to do something kind for that other person, return good for evil, these are ways of letting the light of God shine through this personality to send more light into the world. And as that personality, the light doesn't get through without affecting you. It does affect you. So as you do what is divine rather than human, returning good for evil, giving love where we're being hated, being willing to accept the difficulties of life without complaining, you become more Christ-like. The experience of the divine shining through us actually is in itself very rewarding. It may not be easy to get ourselves to do it, but when we do actually open and do the uncommon thing then we become that clear window pane through which the light can shine. That's why I think this rare time of the coronavirus is a collectively, because so many of us are in it, potentially an incredible time for our society. A time in which we become a much more compassionate society. We become more engaged with each other at a deeper level rather than just superficial. And that we recognize through the suffering of loneliness right now that we really can't stand to be just about ourselves. It has to include our family, our friends, even our community, even those we don't know. We are really, truly all in this together. And we will all get through it by working as one, or we will be in this soup until we get the message. Hoping that we will take advantage of this. And I do think inadvertently, many of us already are, and some of us deliberately, that we are learning the lessons, what is important, who are we really, and what do we really value. But if we also come to this clarity that if we can see society, see the universe as an extension of ourselves and us as an extension of it, and make a determined effort to utilize the suffering that we're having now, the isolation we're having now, to realize that we are not ever really truly alone, but one with all of it. If we could come to that, imagine the world that we would create if collectively we did that. Or we can engage the process that vulnerability brings, that isolation and sequestration and silence brings. And see if we can't recognize this soul, which is our true nature, and do our best to clear our personality of foibles, judgment, unforgiveness, unloving, anger, clear our personality of those things so that the light of God can now shine through us.